So I'm not. All right, so I think I'm having issues sharing. Sorry about that, guys. Priscilla, please can you help me share your screen? I think I'm having issues sharing my screen for today. Don't know if you're on the call. Hmm. Sorry about this, guys. I'm having issues with sharing. Give me a moment, guys. I'm having issues sharing my screen, guys. Sorry about this. Um, Oh, good. Sorry, guys. All right. While we wait for the slide to come up, while we wait for the slide, give me a moment. All right. So while we wait for the slide to come up, today we're going to be discussing about how to run a project as a project manager or a business analyst. That's what we're going to be talking about today. How to run a project as a business analyst and a project manager. I know for a while must have heard the word project managers and then business analysts. What is the difference between the both of them, right? So when we first of all say project managers, what comes to mind, or business analyst, what comes to mind? A project manager or a business analyst, I'll start with a business analyst because they always go first, especially when you want to start a project. But before we get right into what a business analyst or a project manager does before starting a project, what is this project that they're actually starting? What is a project? So who can tell me in the chat, when we say a project, what does it mean, the word projects? Who can tell us, who has an idea, when we say a project, what does it mean? Anyone wants to give it a go? So when we say a project, what does it mean? Okay, so I'm looking at the charts now. A task that needs to be done within a specific time frame. Thank you very much, iPhone. So when we say a project is a temporary task or a temporary work that needs to be done within a specific time frame, within a specific budget. That is a project. Now let's relate it to what we are talking about today. We mentioned project. Now, what is a business analyst, or what do they do? A business analyst and a project manager, what do they do? So Hope said a project is temporary task done to create a unique result. Thank you very much, Hope. That is basically what a project is. Temporary work with a goal at the end of the day you're trying to achieve. Now, let's go into what a project is. A project, or what a business analyst is and what they do. One would say business analyst. What do they simply do? A business analyst, these are the people that does the findings. What does this business need? We want to go into a project, we want to start a project, we want to start a business, right? What do they need? What are the things they need? Right? What are the things they need? This includes the strength of the business, right? You're about to enter this business. What are the advantages you have against people or competitors that are already in this field, right? Okay, so I see someone already putting in the chat what a business analyst is. A business analyst handle processes and bridge the gap between problems and solution. That's exactly what who a business analyst is. They are the gaps, they are the bridgers, basically. But before they become the bridgers, they are the ones that will also go outside, get what the business needs. I want to start a business, right? I don't know anything about this field. They will be the ones to gather requirements, the market you're about to enter. Let's say you want to start a simple business, let's say farming, right? You want to start farming, or you want to develop an app, right? Food delivery app, right? All those things. First thing you need to do is, who are the people in this field? Who are the people in this field, right? So the business analysts go ahead, they make their research, right? They gather the strength of the business. They look at the weaknesses. What are the things that others have that we don't have? What are the things we can see to improve our work, right? That is what the business analyst does. And after that, the business analysts focus on after that they focus on the competitors, the people that are going to be our competitors in this field, which includes the market people, right? The people, if you are going into farming, the people that you are going to be in competition with, those are your competitors. They will do research. Okay, what does these people have that we don't have? Right? Those are the research the business analyst does. And after getting all this information, they bring it into the company or into the business and say, okay, fine, we've gotten all this. How do we make ours better? They now provide solution at the end of the day, right? So they don't just go around gathering data for no reason. At the end of the day, they use it to provide solution. Now, enough of that. Before we go into what we have, before I continue, let's do a deep dive, or let's introduce ourselves first of all. Who are we bringing this to you? Um, who are we bringing this to you? Priscilla, next slide, please. All right, so who are we bringing this to you? We are Analytics, a leading edtech company that is focused on providing specialized training in tech skills and delivering comprehensive data results services. Now, we are not just new into this. We've been doing this for over 5 years now, and we've been building talent across different sectors. And we've done this for over 5,000 people. We've helped them transition from their normal 9 to 5 jobs to landing their first tech role in across the UK, the US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So we are not new at this at all. We've helped grouped a lot of people. And we have different programs that span across the business analytics sector. business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, agile project management and Scrum Master, cybersecurity, product design, and DevOps engineering. So we have several varieties of programs for you if you want to break into tech today. And all these programs are what you can learn. You don't need to have prior knowledge. All you need to do is come in and we'll take you from zero to a techie, right? And how do we do this? We have a team of instructors, leading instructors from global companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and so on. They come to class with their wealth of experience and then deliver engaging and practical learning experience to ensure that we receive maximum value for our investment in the future. Now, who is me? Next, we go to a bit about me, right? So who is me? I'm Moses Joshua, Senior Agile Project Manager here at Analytics with several years of experience. So since I'll be doing a lot of talking in this section and you guys will be getting to see me, I don't need to do much about this. So I'm passionate about this. I'm always interested in teaching a lot of people, and hence the reason why I'm here for today. Now, who is my colleague that is going to be speaking after me today? Her name is Priscilla. Priscilla. So her name is Priscilla Panama. So her name is Priscilla Panama. She's also passionate. She's a passionate educator, data expert, and career strategist with close to half a decade of experience in world of blockchain technology and data analytics. So as a growth catalyst in analytics, she has been instrumental in helping individuals navigate the complex tech landscape, right? So she's also good at what she does. And her expertise spans from freelance data analytics, crypto educator, technical support personnel, and so on. So she is good at what she does. Now, let's get into what we are going to be doing for today. So we're going to be having a practical section today on how to run a project as a business analyst, right? How to run a project as a business analyst. The pathway, the next thing is what the pathway to become an agile project manager versus a business analyst. And then we move forward to how you can get started with your journey. Because after getting all this knowledge, you need to take that first bold step. And after that, we'll now tell you about our special discount offer that we have for you today. So stick with me till the end of this program, and I know you're going to be enjoying every bit of it. Now, let's get into it. I was explaining about a business analyst, and a project manager before, and we've touched a bit about a business analyst. Now, let's look at the project manager. What does the project manager do? Who wants to help in the chat? If you hear project manager, what do they do? Who wants to give it a go? A project manager, what do they do? Anyone? So I'm looking at the chat now. Okay, so while we wait for others to put in the chat, a project manager simply, as the name implies, is a project manager manages a project, right? Oversees the project from the inception to the closure of the project. That is what a project manager does. He plans, he executes the project, and then he closes the project at the end of the day. A project manager, and we also have Hope that said a project manager manages project. That's easy as that, right? A project manager manages project, and we also have from Ola, they are the lead actor in facilitating the project. All right, that's good. So thank you very much, guys. So amazing replies all through. Now, let's go into it. Can we go on? So according to what we have here, a business analyst skill provides deep understanding to stakeholders. Now, what is the dual role both of them have? Both of them, you must be hearing a business analyst, a project manager, right? both of them, they have overlapping roles. They have overlapping roles in different aspects, right? We have the aspect of the first one is what? When it comes to a project, we're starting up a project. The first thing you want to do is what? Gather your requirements. As I've mentioned earlier before, when you want to start any project, you need to have an idea of what the project is about, right? And first thing you need to do is gather that requirements, talk to stakeholders, analyze what the stakeholder means, listen to them. Okay, well, how do you need this platform to be built? How do you need your project to go? You listen to them. It is when you know what they want, you can be able to help them analyze, know the markets they want to enter into, know the kind of competitions they're going to be facing. The next is what? Stakeholder management. Since you are going to be relating with lots of stakeholders, you must know how to build relationship to ensure alignment across all parties. Now, imagine you are going into a farm business, right? You are going to be talking with several stakeholders. And when we use the word stakeholders, it simply means everybody that is impacting or that the project is impacting, right? Those are stakeholders. Anybody that is directly or indirectly involved with that project, it's a stakeholder, right? So now you must know how to manage your relationship with each of the stakeholders, right? A customer is also a stakeholder, yes. So a customer is also a stakeholder, right? So you must know how, oh, this is the person I want to draw close to myself. This is the person I want to push. This is the person that I don't need to be reaching out to every day, right? This is the people I just need to give update that, oh, we've launched or we are almost launching or waitlist is out. So there are different ways you manage communication with different stakeholders. The next thing is what? Scope identification. Now you've gathered your requirements, you've create a plan on how to manage your stakeholder. You need to be able to define the scope of your project, right? This simply, when we say scope of project, simply means what are the boundaries we want in this project we want to do so that you don't what? You don't exceed, you don't do what we call scope creep, right? So that you don't exceed, oh, this is the boundary and you don't do something else that is out of the boundary, right? It keeps us in check. It keeps us going. Okay, what do we say we want to achieve again? Probably 2 months, 3 months down the line when there are a lot of things happening, you can easily go back and say, what are the things we said we wanted to achieve for this project, right? That is scope definition, establishing clear boundaries and deliverables for the project. The next is what? Risk assessments. Risk assessments. Now, for every project, there's always risk involved, right? There's always risk involved. What if I start this business and no one patronizes me? What if I start this app and no one is using this app? What are the mitigation plan I have in check, right? Those are the risk assessment. You must be able to assess your business, assess the risk that is involved, and plan for a mitigation plan, a solution. Should in case that risk happen, what is your countermeasure for that risk, right? And the next is what? Resource allocation. You can't start a project without having resources. And when we talk about resources, we also mean the people working in the project. Those people are also categorized as the resources used in the project, right? You must be able to allocate resources. You must be able to know your team capacity. Okay, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. Okay, since you can work on this, handle this part. Know how to deliberate, right? You see hope, you see you see hope and you tell hope, oh, hope handle this part of the business to kind of know you are in this aspect. Ola handle this part of the business, right? Everyone, you give them their parts to handle across the project, resource allocation. And finally, time management. Time management. So now you must be able to create your schedule. How long do I want this project to last? What are the things I need to do? Right? That's what is called time management, right? Now, let's go on. So, when starting up a project, the first phase is what? We have different phases when you want to start a project. We have different phases. The first phase is what we call the project initiation. The project initiation. And after we're done with the project initiation, and what happens in the project initiation? What happens there? This is simply where you're laying foundation. This is simply a place where you're defining goals. Okay, these are the things we want to do. These are the things we want to achieve, right? Establishing clear, measurable objective aligned with business strategy. Two is what? Identifying stakeholders. These are everything you do in your project initiation phase. You identify the stakeholders, people that you'll be needing for the project, people you are going to be reaching out to, all the people that will be affected by the project or the project is going to be affecting. The people that are going to be needing this project, you must be able to identify them. Okay, this is our target audience. These are our customers that we want to focus on, right? All these things are the things you put in place. And the third is what? Set success criteria, right? Set success criteria. What are the things we need to say, okay, this is the checklist of things we want to achieve, right? How do we measure the success of the project? What are the things we check out for? That, okay, this project is a success. Okay. So now the next thing is what? I talked about the planning phase, right? The initiation phase first. And that is what I just explained. That is the first phase when it comes to starting up a project, the project initiation phase. The next thing we're going to be talking about is what we call the planning phase, the planning and scheduling phase, right? What happens in the planning and scheduling phase? This is simply where you start planning, right? You break down everything that needs to be done, right? You have a list of tasks. Oh, we want to build a website. We need designer. We need a marketer. We need a quality assurance testers, and so on, right? But now you need to break down what are their roles in the project. What are the things they are supposed to do in the project? You break it down, right? Divide the project into manageable tasks using work breakdown principle. Yes, hope say here we are. Here, this is where we use the work breakdown structure. Exactly. We'll break down the work, right? After that, we'll now move to estimating timelines. How long will this project take? How long will this project take? Right? After breaking it down, each of this work, you will now be assigning time. Okay, well, this first task, you are going to take 2 to 3 days. The next task, you are going to take 4 to 5 days, and so on. That is how you be putting the timeline. So that, and what is mostly used to track this is what they call the Gantt chart. This is where you put the task, who the task is assigned to. Is more like a spreadsheet, right? That you can easily see, right? You see the person the task is assigned to. You see the timeline, the duration, the start date, and the end date of the project. You'll be able to see everything there, right? And then assigning resources. The first one was resource allocation. Now you are for here, we will now be assigning those resources, meaning that this is where you say, okay, team A, hope, you are good in design, or you probably have two designers, two developers, and all, right? You have a team, but they have their different strengths. One is good for probably the design team. One is good for probably logo design. One is good for graphics. One is good for UI UX, right? You can decide to pick, oh, which part you want to work on, and then you give them that part to focus on. That is it when it comes to that, right? And then the next phase is what? After you're done planning, the first phase we talked about initiation. The next phase is the planning. And after planning, you execute your project. You execute your project. This is where the work is actually done. You've been doing planning before. The first thing you will do when it comes to the execution phase is what we call kickoff meeting. We call it the kickoff meeting. What happens in the kickoff meeting? This is where we have everybody that is going to be working on the project. Before, you must have reached out to them one on one and, okay, well, can you work on this? Can you work on this? But now you are bringing everyone together. Their first meeting for that project is called the kickoff meeting. This is where the stakeholders, the sponsor of the project, will tell the designer, okay, this is what I want, and basically everyone will have an idea of how you're understanding it. They must have had that before, but here is more official, right? And if they have any questions more where they need to air their opinions, they can speak. So this is basically the kickoff meetings where everything starts. And this is where all the tasks is being assigned and everyone start working, right? And after that, we'll now create a communication plan, right? After, when they are working, you want to be able to communicate with people. Reach out to the first stakeholder. How do you want us to be giving you feedback? Is it weekly or monthly or daily and so on? So you create a communication plan for your different stakeholders. What time works for each of them? Your team, you can say, oh, we'll be having what we call daily stand-up. That means a meeting every single day. That is for your team. The next person, you can say, oh, the stakeholder, I can say, oh, no, let's do it once a week. So that will be showing you updates of things we've done. And next, when you are executing your project, there's what we call change management or change requests. There are some times whereby the stakeholders will, going forward, when you are reaching out to them bi-weekly, and so they'll say, oh, we saw a new feature in this other app when we're going through, and we'd like to see if we can add it to our own. It would look good and all. So in that situation, how do you manage change? How are you able to say, okay, you assess your team strength, assess the budget, assess the timeline, and then give your feedback and say, okay, we can move on with this task, or we can let it slide, or we can move it to the next stage, right? You'll be able to decide that. Now, and finally, all this is done, you'll now be able to do what is called tracking your project using what we call the Kanban workflow. That is the last step when it comes to, and it's not just Kanban you use for tracking. There are different frameworks that can be used to track your project. But for the purpose of today's section, we'll be using the Kanban workflow or the Kanban flow. Now, the next thing is what? After you've executed or you've started execution, you must be able to monitor the project. So this works hand in hand with the execution phase, right? It works hand in hand there. This is where you go, you monitor the project. Okay, well, where have you guys gotten to? It's almost time for the end of your project. It's almost time for your tasks to be completed. What have you done, and so on, right? You monitor the project and control it. The first thing you do in this case, you also identify risks that can occur in the project. As you are monitoring, you are scanning, okay, what are the possible risks that can occur? One team member can fall ill, right? And say, oh, I will not be able to complete my task because I'm in the hospital or something, right? The next one is what? You should be able to, after identifying those risks, you should be able to mitigate it. Mitigate it. Simply say, oh, this is the solution to those risks that we found out in the beginning. Right? This is the countermeasure should in case this risk happen. Right? And after that, you perform what's called track performance. Know the strength of all your team members. It's called velocity, checking the velocity of your team members. okay, this person performed well last time. He was able to work 5 hours, 10 hours a day, right? But this time around, for this next part of the project, he's working 4 hours, 5 hours. What is happening? You should be able to track your performance, the performance of your team members, and then finally adjust the course. Now that you found out, okay, well, this is what is causing the issue, you should be able to adjust it. And this is not only just your team members. This also includes the project itself, right? The project itself, the risks that can occur, how to mitigate for this risk, and to track the performance of the project and adjust um, if there is any scope creep. Thank you very much. There's also the lookout phase. Basically, this you also look out in the monitoring and controlling phase, right? This is where you're also looking out to see, oh, is anything happening? Is anything wrong? Basically, that you can make sure that it doesn't affect the project. If anything is happening, that's what when the next point will come in, which is adjust to course, right? You adjust to course. You make sure you adjust to the situations at hand. All right, this is what we need to do and going on. And with this process, you'll be able to save 25% of time when you're able to go through the process, right? Because of if you don't go through the accurate process when starting up a project, you end up dragging the project will end up dragging for a long time, right? And after you're done with the monitoring and controlling, we will now have the final phase, which is what the closure phase. Yes, you've monitored, you've controlled the project until the end of it. And after then, you close the project. Now, for today's section, we'll be looking at a scenario. We'll be looking at a scenario, right, which is what? Um, the charter dark mode. So now there's an app, right? There's an app. And okay, let's just go through the problem statement. They said users are complaining that the app is too bright at night. They are complaining that it is too bright at night and it is blinding. The CEO wants a dark mode launch by the end of the month to keep users engaged. Now, the goal of this project is what? Use Trello to bridge the gap between the user's need and the release date. The user's need and the release date. So now, there are different steps for the project. The first step is what? The BA brainstorms. I told you before, the BA does the gathering of requirements, is like the bridge to know, okay, what is the things that needs to be done, right? It gets the full understanding of the project. That's what the BA does, right? You are defining what dark mode is as the BA. You are defining what the dark mode actually means so the developer don't guess, right? So you give a detailed interpretation, and then after that, you move towards create a card in your product backlog list. So the next thing you are going to be doing is creating your different cards. But before creating card, you need to create your list first in your on your Kanban board, which I'll be showing you guys shortly now, right? So the first thing is what? You create the action, right? Create a card, you put a title, a dark mode toggle, you put the user story, just write something there in the description part, right? Okay, this is the thing that needs to be done so that when they are going through it, they know what needs to be done. And then next is requirements. What are the things we need to check out for us to say, okay, well, these are the things we need to be looking out for when we are filling this. So this is the step one. Let's go on. So now step two, the PM brings the brain. This is where he actually puts his own work to test. The BA has actually done his work, right? Which is what's gathering the requirement, breaking it down so that developer will understand what the stakeholder wants to do, right? So that they don't start guessing, okay, he wants black. Is he in every part? Is he in some part and all that? So that it doesn't start doing guesswork. Now the PM, you see the requirement are set. They have already seen that the requirement are set. You now have to manage it. So you now manage it. This is where you now start dragging your card. After all the cards has been created in the backlog, you now start managing those cards. When they start the project, you can easily move the project around, right? And you can change priority of projects. You can add deadlines and so on. Now, a let's go ahead and create a board and see how it looks like. So give me a moment to share. So for now, I'll be showing you guys how to. All right, so give me a moment. I'm having issues sharing again. I don't know why my screen is not even sharing at all.
Hi, everybody. Please confirm that you can hear me. If you can hear me in the chat, please leave a yes. If you can hear me, please leave a yes in the chat so I know that you can hear me. All right. Thank you, Vincent. So we're about getting into the practical session where Moses is going to be showing us Trello firsthand, right? I want you to pay rapt attention. So he's going to be sharing a screen shortly. I want you to pay detailed attention because afterwards, we'll talk about how you can get started either as a project manager or as a business analyst. So, what I want you to do for me is just try to identify which of the career paths you are most interested in. Which one would suit you best? Is it business analysis, the problem solver, right? The person that communicates the exact requirement to the technical team so that they are able to produce or develop a product that is a solution to the organization's problem, or the project manager that leads the team, that is a servant leader. All right, that is the reason why we're here today. And Moses is going to be sharing his screen shortly. Now, afterwards, we'll get into the very, very detailed and interesting part. All right. So Moses, can you hear me? So let's just give him some time to share his screen and walk us through Trello. All right. Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right. So, all right. Can you guys hear me? Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly.
Hi, Moses. Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. I think I sorry about that, guys. So what I'll be doing is taking us through the Trello board. So I wouldn't spend much time here. I just want to show us how the Trello board looks like and how to start the task. So now the first thing you want to do is what? You want to create a workspace that you're going to be working on. You're going to be creating a workspace. And how do you do that? You just simply come here and then create a workspace and then put in the name of the project, mobile app. Let's say mobile app, and then choose a work type. Since it's for engineering, we'll just pick engineering and then click on continue. With this, we'll open it up, and then I don't need to invite anybody. I can do that later. Now, if you set up a workspace, this is how it's going to look like. This is how it's going to look like. You see the name of the workspace, mobile app. So anything you do on this workspace, it remains in this workspace, right? Every other thing goes out. So if you are working on mobile app, everything here. So if you are creating 10 boards, 20 boards, everything would be on this mobile app. Now, we've created our workspace. The next thing we want to create is the boards we talk about, right? Those boards. Now, how do we do that? You see the place we have create a new board at the bottom here. You just click on it to create a new board. And then we'll put in the title of what we want to do. What do we want to do? Mobile features. Let's say mobile app features. Mobile app features. Nice. And after that, you see that the name of the workspace is already written there. And then the visibility is anyone that has access to this workspace can see it, right? So the next thing you want to do is what? Click on create. So now you can either decide to create a template, use a template, or you create afresh where you can add all your lists together. So now how do we do that? We simply click on create. We simply click on create, and then you see it opened up like this. So now we have our fresh board here like this. We have our fresh board here like this. And then the next thing you want to do is what? You want to add your lists. You want to add your lists. Now we're going to be creating several lists. So based on our slide previously, you see we have lists to create, right? So we have product backlog. So we're going to be starting with the product backlog list, and then we'll move forward with the rest. So let's start with that. I'll go back to the Trello board, and then we'll create the first list, product backlog, product backlog, and you click on add list. Now, I know we must have heard of list before. What does this simply mean? You must have the easiest one, or the easiest way to know list is to-do lists. We all must have heard of to-do list before, right? So that is what this list is about. But we're not just focusing on just to-do lists. We are focusing on other lists. So we can have so many other lists, right? But now, well, first of all, created the product backlog. The next thing we can create is in progress, or we can put to-do list, add one more list. We can create in progress lists, in progress. So have in progress lists, and then you click enter, and you have the last one, done, right? You have all of them created. Oh, I think this is my in progress. I did not add the S. So let's add the S here. So in progress, you put your S, and then for the last one, I click on done, but because of I did not click on the add list, you see that it did not automatically add itself, right? So how do I do this? I just click on the add list and I click on the add list here. It automatically comes on. Now I see that there's some charts in here. All right. Now that we've created all our lists, right, or the few ones we are going to be using, now let's create the tasks we want to do. What tasks are we working on? We want to work on dark mode feature. So we'll just create one. It's called the dark mode feature. And we'll click on add a card. So now you see that the first thing, there are several stages when it comes to using Trello. The first stage is what? You create your workspace. After creating your workspace, the next is what? You create your board. And this board can also be called, the Kanban board. The Kanban board. You must have heard of, oh, Kanban board. That is the board that is used on Trello, the Kanban board, right? And as I've said before, we have different frameworks in project management. So if you want to get more understanding, more knowledge, feel free to take a course with us, and we're going to walk you step by step on the different frameworks we have in project management. But now, let's go back to what we have. We've created the dark mode feature. Then there are several other things they said we should do after creating the dark mode, right? We want to create a card. We've created a card, right? And then we've put the card title as dark mode toggle. Let's put it as dark mode toggle. Okay. So after then we'll add a description.
So I'll just copy the description we have here and then use it there. So I'll copy the description, come back to our board. So I change the name. So it's dark mode toggle, not dark mode feature. So now we have it there. So I want to put in the description so that when the developers are coming to work on it to pick up the tasks, they are able to see, oh, this is the description. Because of when you just have the name, they might not be able to understand or fully grasp what needs to be done, right? But if you add a description to it, they'll be able to know, oh, this is what needs to be done. And that is the work of a BA, to be able to break down the task, right? So I'll just put it here, put in the description. As a night hall users, they just categorize people that press their phone at night, basically. As a night hall user, I want to switch the app to a dark theme so that I can browse comfortably in low lights. And this kind of description is called the user story. The user story. So you are writing this description in the user's perspective. That means the people that want to use it, you're putting yourself in their shoes. How do they want to be able to use this app? And that is what user story simply means. Now that we've put the user story, the next is what we want to add acceptance criteria. What are the things we must meet, or we must be able to say, oh, when we want to click on this dark mode, these are the things we need to check to see if this task was successfully completed. That is what acceptance criteria is. What are the things that we must see? What are the things that this feature must be able to do for we to say, oh, this task is completed? And that is why we're going to be adding checklists to it. So now we'll put it as what? Acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria, and then we add. So I'll not be filling in everything we have. I'll just put in one or two because our time is far spent. So now the first few ones is what we have. First few ones we have is this. So I'll just copy it and then come and put in here. So we have the first acceptance criteria that there must be high contrast test, meaning that if I'm using it in dark mode, I should still be able to see the test. So that is what this one is talking about here. So now I'll take this one off and leave just one. So I'll copy it, add it, and you can add several others. You see another line, you can add the next one. Automate toggle based on the phone system. This simply means that there should be a setting whereby my phone default SIM system, that is what the app should take. I know most of us must have seen that features in some of our mobile apps, right? Where they say, oh, use the same feature or use the same theme as your phone. That is what this feature is talking about, right? So after you're done with everything, you save your description here. And then you see the description here and then the acceptance criteria. So now if the quality assurance testers is coming to test, they are able to check it as they go on, depending on how many acceptance criteria is written here. They're able to say, okay, this is good to go, this is good to go, and so on. And with this, and after you're done adding this, you can now go outside the box. Now, this is what the business analyst has gotten for us. They've gotten the acceptance criteria, they've broken it down for the developers to understand. And now the project manager now decides to add timelines. Okay, well, how long will it take? What is the start date? What is the end date? You can decide to put it here. You see the date at the top. You see the start. If today is not the day you're starting the project, you can just click on start date and add your start date there. But if it is today you are starting, you can just uncheck this and it will pick today as the default start date. Now, the only thing you need to add is what? The due date. So you can just change the due date, okay, 3rd of, let's say, 20 or 22. 3rd of 30. Let's just leave it as 30, right? And then you say, remind the person that is assigned to this task 2 hours before the deadline. I can decide to change it that, 2 hours is too short. Let's make it 1 day before the time. So if it is getting to 1 day before the time, the person that is assigned to that task automatically gets a reminder that, the task is almost due. So you save this and you see that there's a due date there. So there are several other things you can do here, right? Like adding labels. Is this a critical task? Is this a high priority task? Is it a low priority task? And so on. Several others, which we will not be able to cover all today. Now that we are done with that part, I'll take us to the next thing the project manager does, which is what? Moving the cards across each of the lists we have. Now that we've created this, if the tasks now eventually start or want to move them to do, I can easily just hold them and drag them across board. So as the project manager, you check your start date, you check your end date of the project. If the task has been completed, if the task has started, you move it to in progress, meaning that this task has started, right? And if they are done with the task and the task is completed, you can easily move it to done. And this is simply how you use Trello. A simple breakdown. First of all, you create your workspace. And after your workspace, you create your board. And after the board, you create your list. The next thing you create is what? Your cards. And after cards, you start filling in the cards, which includes your card title and so on. And this is just a snippet of everything you'll be learning. There are still automations and several other things you can do on Trello. And as I've said before, feel free to take a course with us and you'll be able to get every bit of knowledge, nothing left out, on how to use all these tools. And I know with what I've shown you guys today, you'll be able to see the difference and the overlappings we have between a business analyst and a project manager. And just because of I said the business analyst handle the user story and acceptance criteria doesn't mean a project manager can't also do that. And there is where the overlapping always comes in. You see some project managers doing the work of a business analyst and some business analysts doing the work of a project manager. All right. So with this, I would hand the mic over to my colleague to show you guys and tell you guys more about everything you'll be gaining from this section. So Priscilla, you have the floor.
All right, thank you so much, Moses. So, guys, if you can hear me and you had a good time, I mean, you enjoyed what Moses has shown us so far, please leave a yes in the chat. Okay, so if you've had a good time so far, do leave a yes in the chat. Ola, I see you. We're quite a couple of us on the call. We're gonna be here for the next 20 minutes, and it's supposed to be very, very interactive. So I want you to, interact with me in the session. JM says yes. And God's favorite says yes. It's just 3 responses. I want to see more. What about 34 on the call? Okay, please let's leave our yeses coming in. All right, now we'll get into the other half of the session. Very interesting. We'll be here for the next 20 minutes. At this point, with all we've spoken about so far, with every single thing that Moses has shown us, I want to see those of us that have been able to decide on the path that we want to go for. So if it is business analysis you're interested in, please leave a BA in the chat. If it is project management, please leave a PM in the chat. I would wait for every single response. So JM says BA. All right, let's leave the response coming in. Okay, I need to understand, or I need to see if we're already set up on the career path that we are interested in. Hope says PM, Usman says BA, and God's favorite says PM. All right, let's leave the responses coming in. All right, now let's briefly talk about the project manager and the business analyst. Okay, you see the reason why I like both career paths? They are called the non-technical aspect of tech. Okay, so with business analysis, project management, you don't need to write any single line of code. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, all right, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a student, okay, whether you're a carer, right, and you're worried, okay, I want to get into tech, but I did not study anything tech related. Okay, I don't like mathematics. I don't have any technical background or anything. These are career paths that you can consider. And guess what? As a business analyst or even a project manager, you get paid good. Okay, you get paid good. All right. So if you don't take out anything from today's session, I want us to be able to decide on the best path for you. Okay, so I would just do a brief explanation on who the project manager, who the business analyst is, and who fits into this role. And I would also do same for the project manager. Now, coming into business analysis, like I said, it's a non-technical aspect of code. All right. And the business analyst is needed in every single industry, every single organization, because your job is to turn the business needs into solutions. Okay, so you are that problem solver that helps the organization discover their needs and turns them into solution. Okay, now you understand fully well what the solution is supposed to be. Let me give you a very brief scenario. Just imagine, your favorite supermarket, the one where you go into to get stuff from beverages, groceries, and the likes. But then every time you go into the store, say every time of a particular time of the month, they usually don't have your favorite grocery. Okay, they're usually out of stock. All right. And then sometimes you get in and you see that some things that you want to buy are expired. Now, the manager, of course, will get a lot of complaints because a lot of people have noticed, oh, I want to get something and you guys barely have it. Okay. Or I even want to get something when you have it, it is expired. Now, that is a problem that the supermarket, your favorite supermarket, is experiencing. Now, the manager of the supermarket might not know where the problem is coming from. Okay. But that is where the business analyst comes in. Now, the business analyst comes in, and the business analyst is able to, first of all, speak to all the stakeholders involved to understand what is going on. Okay, why are we running out of stock on some days? Okay, and then why do we have expired products on some other days? Okay, so the business analyst is able to transform that problem, right? And then understand the need of the supermarket, and then is able to then decipher what is wrong exactly and then propose a solution. Okay, so it could be, oh, let's have a system that could, help us track goods that are almost out of stock. So a system that would flag the purchase person, right? And then let them know, oh, for this particular grocery, we're almost running out of stock. So that way they get to reorder. And then when you come back to the supermarket, you have your favorite grocery right there on the shelf. And then it takes away the problem of having to come in and then you cannot find your favorite grocery to get. That is the job of the business analyst, looking up ways to transform the organization's need, right? Preferring solutions that would help them take them from that point where they were lacking, okay, optimizing their processes and get them to that point where they need to be. So you are that problem solver. Okay, and then you act as a bridge between the management. Now you say, okay, let's have a system that flags you know, that notifies us or that gets triggered when we have certain groceries that have gotten to a particular quantity and we need to reorder them. The manager isn't technical. They don't understand all of that. But then you act as a bridge between the manager and the technical team, the team that is in charge of building the system. It could be an application. All right. That is your job as a business analyst. A pretty interesting career path. Okay. So we have the business analyst on one hand, then we have the project managers. Just like you all got it right, while Moses was asking, you are a servant leader, the person that would set the timeline. All right, this is how long it will take for us to complete this project. This is how much we need to complete this project. And if any member of the team is facing a blocker, you get to remove it and ensure that whatever project that is being built, it could be an application, it could be a system, it could be a website, whatever project is being carried out suits the need of the business, right, fits a particular time frame. So if they've decided to set out 4 months to build an application, as a project manager, you ensure that it fits into 4 months. Okay, and then it fits into the budget as well, and you're able to manage your team. Now, pretty interesting career paths. All right. And whether you choose to go for either of them, I'm here to tell you something today. You're actually going for a career path that is really, really, really juicy. Now, here on my slide, you would see a snippet of the Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum. So the World Economic Forum is made up of your tech leaders. Okay, people like your Elon, Jeff Bezos, and the likes. And what they do is to chart the course for different career paths. Okay, so based off the trends and all of that, they'll say, all right, so these certain career paths, they are career paths that will fizzle out, right? While some other career paths are career paths that will grow in demand. Now, here's what they have to say. With the advent of AI and every single thing, in the next 5 years, this report is released every 2 years. Now, this was released in 2025. And here's what they have to say. In the next 5 years, 170 million jobs will be created, while 92 million jobs will disappear. Okay, 170 million jobs will be created and 92 million jobs will disappear. Now, I also have a snippet of the report here. To the right, you would find jobs that will fizzle out in demand. For those of us looking to get into tech, whatever you do, you want to make sure that you're not getting into a career path that is going to fizzle out in demand. Okay, so to the right, you would find every single one of those career paths that will decline in demand. Right? To the left, you'll find the career paths that will grow in demand. And of course, you would see the project managers. So if you've decided to go for project management, okay, you are going for a career path that is growing in demand. You would also find the business analysts here, the process automation specialists, the people that are in charge of improving processes. So just in case you're on this call and you're worried, going into either of this path, right? Do I stand a chance to even get a job? Will I be relevant? Would I be going into a career path, that is really relevant? Or in the next couple of years, AI is going to take my job? So with this report, you're able to see that you will be getting into a career path that is growing in demand. It means that if you have the skills of a business analyst or you have the skills of a project manager, right, your skills will be sought after. Right? Your skills will be sought after and you will keep being relevant. Okay, now I'd like to assume that the focus for every single person coming into business analysis or project management is to get a job. And as a newbie, as a beginner in the tech space, you have to come in with so much intentionality. You hear a lot of people saying, I've been trying to get a job as a business analyst for over 2 years. I've not been able to get a job. That space is saturated. That's why I've not been able to get a job. Or I've been trying to get a job as a project manager, but I haven't been able to because it's saturated. That is not the fact. That is not the truth. All right. So we've been able to see here right now that these career paths are career paths that will grow in demand. But coming into the tech space, you need to understand the strategy that will land you that job. There's always a strategy that works. All right. Now, we've been doing this for a little over 5 years now. Okay, so we literally have been able to put up this strategy, the one that has helped over 4,000 plus people get jobs. The very first thing you want to do is learn and stay focused while at it. All right. The very first strategy is learn and stay focused while at it. A lot of us fall prey into we've decided to go for business analysis or we've decided to go for project management. And then whilst we're at it, 2 months in, we see our friends getting a job as a cybersecurity professional. And then we start to dwindle and they will feel like, oh, that is what is in demand. That's the path I want to go into. You will not get a job that way. The very first strategy is for you to learn and stay focused while at it. You've decided to go for project management or even business analysis. Okay, you stay focused and you learn the skills. Now, the next thing is for you to position. This is important, especially if you want to get a job. It is not enough to tell an employer, oh, I know this thing. I know how to use Trello. I know how to use Kanban board. A lot of people will state that I know how to use this thing. But you know what positioning will do for you? It will help you, it will portray you as the best candidate for the job. Okay, positioning will portray you as the best candidate for the job. So while other people are saying, I know how to do this thing, you know how to do the same thing. All right. But you are also positioned as the right candidate for the job. Now, after positioning, of course, you have to then apply to these jobs. Okay. You have to apply to these jobs. And this is the strategy that works. You learn, you position, and then you apply. Now, it is this exact same strategy that Esther here on my screen has been able to use to get a job as a project manager in the UK. Guess what? Esther was a carer without any background in tech. Now, she moved to the UK from Nigeria and she started doing the survival job. She went into care, but she knew that she was made for so much more. Just like many of us on this call, tired of doing, tired of being a carer, tired of doing the survival jobs. Okay. And then we're trying to transition into tech. All right. So Esther came in, and the very first thing she did was to learn. She picked a career path. For some of us, it will be project management. For some of us, it will be business analysis. That is the first strategy, deciding on a career path and learning. The second thing she did was to position. Now, with positioning, she was able to tailor her CV to a project manager's CV. Now, your CV is that document that goes into the room before you do. What that means is it has to tell the true story and a compelling story about you. Okay, so the very first thing you have to do in your job application process, apart from learning, is to ensure that your CV, the document that gets into the room before you do, is properly tailored. It carries the right keyword. And then you also need mentorship. Okay, you also need mentorship. Now, tech is not a terrain that you try to just meander alone. Okay, you need access to the people that have gotten jobs. You need access to the people that have walked the talk, people that will tell you, oh, this is how you do this application. Okay, these are the kind of jobs you want to apply to. That is what mentorship gives to you. Okay, so with mentorship, if it was supposed to take you 2 years to transition into tech, with mentorship, it is taking you 6 months, okay, to get a job in tech, right? Then Esther got prepped for multiple interviews, which is about positioning. Then she applied as well. She applied to multiple jobs, both in the UK and the US, from what we call the Analytics job board. We'll speak more about that. Okay, and she ensured to tailor every single application, and that was how she was able to get a job, right, as a contract manager. Now, I need you to take note of this timeline. She started in April 2025, and by July, 3 months, barely 3 months or 4 months after, she was able to get a job that came with a hybrid schedule. So for those of us that want to work from home, it is very much possible. All right. For those of us that want to have a hybrid schedule, you're able to get all of those from the Analytics job board. Okay. This was the strategy that Esther deployed, and she was able to get a job barely 4 months into the training program. We also have Ngozi right here on my screen, also known as Judith. Now, for Ngozi, she was a carer just like Esther. Okay, but she decided to go for our business analysis program. She applied the same strategy, learn, position and apply. And guess what? She's currently in the UK, but she's working for a company in the US. She's working remotely as a business analyst. So for those of us that are mothers that are looking to, get into tech, still try to find some time for our kids, and, we want to work remotely, it is very much possible with tech. All right. I also have here on my screen Tony. Okay. So Tony already had a job. She had a job just like everybody else. Yeah. But she lacked job fulfillment. She didn't want to stay stuck on those survival jobs. She decided to go for our Agile Project Management program. Okay. And she was able to get a job as a project coordinator in Canada. All right. So you see that these strategies work. Now, for these people, getting into analytics, they knew right away what employers wanted from them. Remember, it's all about strategy. It's all about being intentional. All right. And coming into the tech space, employers want just two things from you: the skills and experience. Right? Skills and experience. When you take a look at job boards, you see proficient in SQL for those of us that are business analysts, in Excel, requirements gathering, stakeholder analysis. For those of us that are, project managers, proficient in Trello, Asana and the likes. These are the skills. They want to know that you have these skills. Now, apart from the skills, they also want to see if you've used those skills before, if you have experience using them. Nobody is willing to take a chance on you. All right. We're not looking for internship coming into the tech space. The goal is to get a job. And to get a job, employers would want to ensure that, you've had experience using all of these tools before. Okay. So whether you're going into business analysis, whether you're going into project management, employers want just two things from you: skills and experience. Okay. For those of us that, I just put this here just to buttress a point. For some of us, especially as newbies coming into the tech space, we think that, okay, I need to get a certification. That is what will get me the job. But this is an example. This is somebody that has told that route and figured that it doesn't work in the tech space. Now, this is Hope right here on my screen. Okay. Now, Hope had a project management and Scrum Master certification. Okay. But with that certificate, she couldn't land a job. She still couldn't get a job because employers still wanted her to have experience, skills and experience. Certifications don't show your experience. Okay. They do not show your experience. That is what employers are looking for. So what she did was to join our Agile Project Management program, and then she was able to get a job. Okay, she was able to get a job afterwards. So for newbies, beginners looking to transition, what you want to focus on to get a job is skills and experience. Those are the two things you want to focus on to get that first job. All right. Now, as you progress, you want to get into more senior roles. You can start to, get certifications. They are add-ons. They don't show your skills. They don't show your experience. All right. So how then do you get these skills and the experience? Okay. Now, remember, right, with experience, for an employer to give you a job, they would want you to have experience, right? But then how do you get experience if you don't have a job just yet? That is a loop that we found a way to break you out from that loop. Okay. Now, if you want to get experience, okay, the best way to learn, all right, is by working in a project-based environment. For people that are currently working as business analysts, as project managers, right, the only way you're able to gain experience is by working on projects. That is the only way you are able to gain experience. If you're not working on projects, if you're not solving problems, you don't have any experience. So what that means is project gives you the experience. The mistake most of us make is to just go and learn theories, right? We just go, oh, what is requirement gathering, right? What is agile project management? Okay, we just learn all the theories. We watch videos and we learn theories. All right. And we think that that is enough, but that isn't enough. Okay, because you need experience, and the only way you gain experience is by learning in a project-based environment, an environment that would give you hands-on experience. Now, this is the best way to learn if you want to land a job. You learn by doing the real work. Now, it's not just enough to, learn by doing the real work. You also have to showcase your work. You can't just walk up to an employer and say, oh, I know how to do this thing. I have experience doing this thing. They want to see proof of work, proof of experience. So you need something called a portfolio to show them, yes, I have the experience. Okay. And these are the projects that I've worked on. These are the problems I've been able to solve. All right. These are the teams I've led. Right. So you need to learn, in a project-based environment, gain the right skills, right? And then you also need to be able to showcase to recruiters your proof of work, which is your portfolio. Okay, so we've seen how you can get the skills, right? By learning in a project-based environment. Now, for experience, you gain experience by working on projects. Okay, you gain experience by working on projects. Now, you see what Moses has just done on the call, used Trello. Now, if you stand in front of a recruiter, right, you go through analytics training and they say, okay, tell me one time, competency-based question. Tell me one time you used Trello. You're able to speak from experience because you've worked on a project, using Trello. So you can tell, you can literally speak from experience. So that is one way to gain experience by working on projects. Then you also need internship. And, here at Analytics, we have a 2 month internship. So you'll be doing an internship with a company that we partnered with. All right. You'll be doing internship with a company that we partnered with. And guess what? Because of how you are learning, we'll talk about that as we go. All right. But because of how you're learning, you are able to have very unique opportunities that are unique to Analytics participants. So in class, you're learning by working on projects. During your internship, you're also gaining experience. Now, because of how you're learning and gaining experience, you have an opportunity to have Analytics as part of your work experience. Analytics and Andari, which is the company you will be doing your internship with. We'll speak more about that as we go. All right. Then you also need to show evidence of your work. Now, I've attached a lot of portfolios here on my slide. Okay. For you to gain access to these portfolios, what you want to do is fill the attendance form. Okay, so you want to fill the attendance form so that you'll be notified when my slide is ready and the recording of this session is ready. And then you can go over and then, pick out some portfolios that you want to see for yourself. Okay, so let's talk about positioning now. We've seen how to learn as a newbie, as a beginner looking to get into tech. We've seen the right way to learn. Now, like I said, it's not just enough to tell an employer, I know how to do this thing. You have to be positioned as the best person for the job. So how do you position as the best person for the job? First of all, you are able to do that by ensuring that your CV is properly tailored for that job. You want to apply for an Agile project manager role. Your CV should speak to Agile project management and Agile project management alone. Okay, because there's something called the applicant tracking system. The applicant tracking system is just like a security guard that has been put in place by recruiters. Right now, they've conditioned it to look for certain keywords. You're applying for an Agile project management role. The applicant tracking system will look for certain keywords in your CV. And if it doesn't find those keywords, it just flips your CV into the bin. And you don't even get a chance to have a recruiter or an employer take a look at your CV. So there's something called CV review and revamp, which would help you ensure that your CV is tailored rightly to that job. Now, as I was saying earlier, because of how you'll be learning, right? Learning by gaining experience, learning by doing, you have an opportunity to have 2 work experiences on your CV. One of them is Tenalytics. One of them is Amdavi, which is the company you'll be doing your internship with. Now, your job description will be the projects you've worked on, all right? The experience you've gained. All right, and the impact of these projects. So you're able to have that on your CV. Imagine, coming from being a carer without prior experience, you know nothing about project management, right? You know nothing about business analysis, but because of how you've learned, you are able to have two work experiences. That is what Analytics gives to you. All right. Then the second is LinkedIn optimization. Okay. Now, LinkedIn is your digital footprint. Okay. And most of the times for us here at Analytics, same as almost every other company, when we're looking to fill up roles, we go right there on LinkedIn, right? And we type the role. Now, some profiles are able to pop up. We look through them and we reach out to them. You hear a lot of Analytics participants saying, oh, I had this recruiter and that recruiter reaching out to me. That is because their LinkedIn profile is properly optimized. There are certain strategies to having your LinkedIn profile optimized, pardon me. All right. And that is what we give to you here at Analytics. Okay. Then how do you navigate the job market? You've gotten the skills, you've gotten experience, then you have to go into the job market. So how do you find your footing? So what we've done here at Analytics is to teach you how to apply to jobs. Okay, we like to assume every single person coming into our training is a complete beginner. So we teach you how to apply to these jobs. But guess what? We don't just stop there. We provide jobs that you can apply to. Okay, and guess how we did that? We took a look at the various regions. Okay, we took a look at the various regions, UK, US, Canada, and every other region. We took a look at the, premium job boards, and then we subscribed to them. We paid for them, right? And that way we're able to get premium roles as soon as they are available. Now, you don't have to pay for them because we've done the heavy lifting. Yours is just to apply. We'll provide these jobs to you on a weekly basis. Now, you see visa sponsorship roles, you'd see remote roles, you see contract-based roles, you'd see numerous roles across the major economies. And your job is just to apply. Of course, we've taught you how to apply. All right. Then we have what is called interview preparation. Okay. You've done your bit. You've applied for a job. Your CV right on par. Your LinkedIn optimization, your LinkedIn profile properly optimized, and then you've applied. You have an interview coming up. Okay. You don't have to panic with Analytics. All right. Because we have something called the interview preparation session. Now, with this, if you have an interview coming up, all you have to do is book for an interview preparation session. Now, you would have an expert, that will prepare you for that interview. They'll do their findings on the company, of course. They'll take a look at your CV, right? And they'll prepare you thoroughly for that interview. It doesn't matter the number of interviews you have coming up. All you have to do as soon as you have interviews coming up is to book for an interview preparation session. Right? Then, you need a reference to keep the job. Your LinkedIn, your CV carries Analytics as part of your work experience. It also carries Amdari. Okay. Recruiters would write to us, okay, to provide reference letters. Here at Analytics, we're able to provide compelling reference letters that will tell of your experience. Okay, so on your CV, you have that I've worked with Analytics as a consultant, a business analyst consultant, right? A project management consultant, right? We're able to provide reference letter to back that up. Okay, we're able to provide reference letter to back that up. Then we have on the job support. So if you get your first job as a project manager or as a business analyst, you have Analytics to support you. Now, this is a service that a lot of our participants don't usually come back for because of how they will be learning. But we still have this handy here at Analytics, just in case you get your first job and you don't know how to initiate a project, which is very unlikely because of how you'll be learning, 6 months of immersive learning. But this is still a service that we have handy. Then you get weekly mentorships from people like Hope, right? People like Judith that have gotten jobs. They come back and they're able to talk you through their experience. These are the things you should avoid. These are the things you need to do. How do you go about salary negotiation? How do you explain employment gaps on your CV? So you get mentored on all of this. And like I said, with mentorship, a journey that is supposed to take 2 years now takes 6 months or less. So you get mentored here at Analytics. And of course, you get, linked Upwork optimization. All right. Now let's talk about applying. This is the third strategy. Okay, so our mantra here at Analytics is you have to apply like a machine, but you're now applying with precision. Now, remember, I said you will be getting jobs that you can apply to every week. What we do here at Analytics is to ensure that we teach you how to tailor your application, tailor your CV to the said role. That way, you're not reusing a CV, one CV to apply to multiple roles. So you're ensuring that for every particular role, you have the right keyword and your CV captures that keyword. Okay, so one strategy is to never reuse a CV. Then you have to make 10 quality applications a day. Okay, and then you're able to tap into paid and hidden job markets. All right, which we'll be providing to you here at Analytics. I provided a snippet of how you'll be getting these roles. All right, your job will just be to apply. Okay, your job would just be to apply. Now, let's talk about the program duration and timeline. Now, every single thing that I've mentioned so far, all right, the entire learning duration here at Analytics is 8 months. All right, the entire learning duration is 8 months, and that 8 months has been split into 6 months of learning with Analytics, 6 months of learning, and 2 months of internship. Okay, now during your 6 months of learning, you have your live classes on Saturdays, right? You have your live classes on Saturdays. Now, in the live classes, you come on board like this and you're able to work on projects alongside the instructor. Now, we have different time duration or time schedule for people in different time zones. For those of us in Europe, UK, Africa, you have the morning class, which is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time. All right. For those of us in North America, you have the evening class, which is 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. West African time, but 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you will be learning in the mornings. Now, it doesn't matter where you are. If the morning class works for you, you get to choose that time. If the evening class works for you, you get to choose that time. Right? Then we have our mentorship sessions, which happens on Thursdays. All right. So we have mentorship sessions on Thursdays, 10 p.m. West African time, and then 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And guess what? Every single one of these sessions, every single one of them is recorded and made available to you so that just in case you have to miss any of them, you have access to the recording. And guess what? It's a lifetime access. All right. Now, while you're going through, while you're learning during the program, you get real-time support from the instructors. Okay. So if you have questions, you don't have to wait until the Saturday live class. We have what is called drop-in sessions, where if you're working on a tool, right, and you have issues, you can reach out to the instructor during the week, any day of your convenience and any time. And then you get to ask them your questions, right, in real time. All right. So that is something you get because we figure that for a lot of beginners, right, there's no point doing it alone. So throughout the step of the journey, you need support, right? Every time of the day, which is why we have 10 analytics here. All right. Now, this being said, I need you to understand that you need that job that will pay you well. You're tired of your current position, right? You've been out of job for a long time. You're trying to get into tech and you just haven't been able to break in just yet. All right. You're tired of, for those of us that is into the health sector, you're tired of bedside care, bedside nursing, and all of that. All right. I need you to know that you can't stay where you are and expect changes to happen. You can't stay where you are and expect jobs to be given to you on a platter. You have to make a change, right? If you want a job that offers you flexibility, where you can work from home, right? Where you can decide to go on a hybrid schedule. If you want a path that will pay you well, right? And you don't have to go back to school to get any degree. Tech will give you that. But the thing is, you have to make a decision, right? You have to make a decision to get into the tech ecosystem as soon as you can. So let's talk about how you can get started today. You've been able to figure out the right career path for you, business analysis, project management. How can you get started today? We have a class that is starting on the 11th of April. Okay, we have a class that begins on the 11th of April. All right, and guess what? Guess how much it would cost? Okay, now the full amount of the training, okay, is $1,200. All right, $1,200. But in celebration of the Women's Month, we're currently running a 50% scholarship. So instead of paying $1,200, you get to pay half of that, which is $600 for every single thing we've talked about. Okay, instead of paying $1,200, you get to pay $600. But this discount is only open to 10 persons on this call. All right, this 50% scholarship is open to just 10 persons on this call. Wow, almost times 3 of that. All right, so I have a lot in store for you. Okay, so with this discount, if we get 10 persons, you don't have to pay the entire $600. What you need to pay is just $200, right? What you need to pay is just $200, and there's more. For those of us that will be able to register on this call, before this call ends, I have something for you called the Founder Circle. Now, through the Founder Circle, you get access to the founders of the organization. This is not something that every single person gets access to. Okay, this is just for, a set of persons that will be paying on this call. Now, through the Founder Circle, you get, access to a tailored roadmap. So for Hope on the call, for Ola on the call, you get access to the founders and they're able to tell you, okay, this is where you should be by the second month. This is the roadmap you should follow so that by the fourth 6 months, you're able to get a job. Okay, so they tailor the discussion to your situation. All right, and then you also get tailored guides on jobs to apply to based on your past experience. Okay, and based on the career path that you're interested in, right? Then for those of us that are able to still pay on this call, by tomorrow, you are getting access to something called the mentorship session. Now, for most people that won't take advantage, you wouldn't get access to mentorship till the training begins. But if you will be taking advantage, you're able to start getting mentored as early as tomorrow. So you gain access to our mentorship sessions. I talked about the mentorship already. You get access to people that have walked the talk, all right, people that have gotten jobs. Okay. And for those of us in the UK, you get access to something called the UK Global Talent Visa Session, where you get to receive insider level immigration knowledge on how you can apply for the UK Global Talent Visa. Now, that application needs references, and we will be providing that to you here at Analytics. Then, of course, you also get a lifetime career support. All right, remember, this is just open to the people that will be taking advantage right here on this call. So what I will do right now, my colleagues are dropping the link to the payments platform. Okay, my colleagues are dropping the link to the payments platform. What I will do for you, is to walk you through how you can secure a spot, how you can go ahead, to make payments. All right, that is exactly what I'm going to do for you on this call. Now, you click the link that my colleagues are sharing in the chat. Okay, so what you have to do is just click on the link. Okay, and I'm sharing my screen. Now, as soon as you click on that link, it brings you to the Tenalytics website. Okay, it brings you to the Tenalytics website. Remember, this discount, where you get to pay half of the training price is open to just 10 persons. right, that are able to pay on this call, and then they get access to, the other offers that I have. Now, when you click on that link, it brings you to this website, and then all you have to do is scroll down and you're able to see the various courses that we offer. For those of us that are interested in business analysis or project management and would prefer to apply it to the LTech sector, we like to become LTech project managers or LTech business analysts. We have those programs right here on the website. So you pick the one that you're interested in. It could be the business analyst, it could be the LTech business analyst, it could be the project manager or the LTech project manager, but you pick the one you're interested in. Now, if you're not yet sure of which one you want to go for, what I want you to do is secure a spot on this call, right? And as soon as you do that, you're able to have personalized access to our facilitators that will speak to you, right? And then they are able to help you discover the best career path for you. All right. So I would use the business analysis for an example. Now I click on business analysis, right? And then it opens this up to me. Okay. So let's just wait for this to open up. All right. Let's just wait for this to open up. As soon as you see the course you're interested in, click on enroll now. All right. Now, when the site opens up, it will show business analysis like this. All you have to do is click on enroll now. Now, once you click on enroll now, it brings you to the page where you have to confirm your enrollment. So you find two cohorts that are available. You have the April cohort, which begins on the 11th of April, and then we also have the May cohort. So if you're unable to start in April, you can decide, oh, April is too tight for me. I already have some things planned out for April. The discount still applies to the May cohorts. So you pick the one that works best for you, and then you're able to see the payment plans. Now, this is in dollars. For those of us that are in the US, you have the payments plan with the 50% discount at $600. All right. And with this, going for the 3 installments, you're able to pay as many as 3 times. So what that means is you don't have the entire $600, but you want to take advantage of the discount. What you can do is decide to go for the 3 installments. That way you get started with $200. All right, I'll show this to you in pounds. For those of us that are in the UK, the equivalent of $600 is £459.60. And if you want to go for the 3 installments, you're able to, split that into 3. And what you need to get started is £153.20. Now, you choose the payment plan that works for you. It could be the full payment. It could be the 3 installments, right? And then you pick the cohort that works for you and then scroll down. Once you scroll down, you're able to check the box that says, I confirm my information is correct and I've read the terms and conditions. Now, it would ask you to create an account before you get to this process. That you can do in less than 2 minutes. Now, you check both boxes and then you click on Pay Now and you're able to secure a spot. All right, you are able to secure a spot. Easy peasy. All right, this is how you take advantage of the discount. Now, remember, for those of us that will be paying on the call, I'll take note of your names, right? And by tomorrow, you get access to the mentorship session while still taking advantage of the discount. So that being said, I will take your questions now. So I assume that for those of us on the call, we might have questions, burning questions that we have in mind. So if you have a question, all right, please leave them in the chat. So Ola is asking USD or CAD. So right here on the payments platform, you're able to select the currency that you want to pay in. Okay, so you see a currency selector. What you can do, this is currently in pounds. You can put USD, you can put Canadian dollars, you can put Naira or even Euro. So you select the currency that works best for you, and you're able to see the cost of the training in your desired currency. Okay, so Ola, I hope I've been able to answer that. So if we have more questions coming in, please leave the questions in the chat. Remember, we have just 10 slots left. What almost times 3 of that on the call. Okay, and as soon as we have all slots filled, the price goes back to normal. Okay, so do we have Ola? All right, good. Do we have any questions in the chat? Okay, is there anybody that has a question in the chat? Just put it in the chat, or if you want to speak, you're unable to type and you'd prefer to speak, just leave, your hands up and then I can call you and you can speak. All right. So if you've got a question, all right, please leave it in the chat. This is the time for question and answer session. Okay, so I see a couple of us on the call. I'm just going to call your name to be sure that you're here. If you don't have a question, please leave a no in the chat. All right. If you have a question, go ahead to type it out and I will take your questions. So I see Afi. Afi, do you have a question? Okay. I also see Busaya's iPhone. Any questions? I see Damilola Bamidele. That name sounds really familiar. All right. I also see Ejiro Geneb. Do you have a question? If you don't have a question, please leave a no in the chat. Then I see Theresa. I also see I am God's favorite. I see iPhone. I see JM. I see Cassie. I see Nerki. I see Nosa. I see Ola. I see Olunike. All right. I see a couple of Samsungs. Okay. I see Taiwo. I see Taiwo. I see Usman. Bola Gade. I also see Vincent and I see, okay, so I'm God's favorite is asking, can I text you after this call? Absolutely. So I'm going to leave my email address here in the chat. I'm able to reach out to you. Okay, but I've just put my email address in the chat. I'm God's favorite. So if you want to share your WhatsApp contact, you can leave it in the chat so that, I get that and I'm able to reach out to you and we can talk. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat. Okay, Teresa is asking, I've already get this 50% scholarship. However, I want to ask if installments, please confirm you can still hear me. I want to ask if installment means to pay monthly. Yes. 3 monthly installments means you get to pay monthly. Okay, Theresa, I hope I've been able to answer that. Then Ola is saying, I really want to know the difference between healthcare analyst and project analyst program. So do you mean the LTech data analyst? Or the LTech project manager. So if we're talking about the LTech project manager, the LTech project manager is a project manager, right? Is a project manager that has decided to apply project management to the healthcare sector. So if you're working for a hospital and they're trying to implement a new EHR, a digital system to keep records of their patient data, that is a project in the healthcare sector. And the healthcare project manager will be in charge of managing that project. Okay, that is the LTech project manager. Then the general project manager is one that can, be a project manager in any industry. I hope I've been able to answer that, Ola. Just let me know. Okay, beautiful. So which one are you going for, Ola? Is it the LTech project manager or the general project manager? Okay, just
Hello.
let me know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll prefer. Currently, thank you for the information section. It's really awesome. Yeah, currently I'm actually working in the ed sector, so I'm still
Mhm.
kind of like still considering whether maybe I should stay with the ed tech or the
Project.
project. Yeah, so I'm still kind of
Okay. So
yeah.
do you see yourself leaving the LTech sector anytime soon?
Ah, kind of.
Okay. So you want to then go for the general project
Yeah.
management
Okay.
because that way, yes, that way you're able to still, apply to jobs in other sector
Okay.
and
So
then you
okay.
can still, yeah, you can still apply the same skills to the LTech sector. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
All
Thank you.
right. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so do we have any more questions? Please leave them in the chat if you've got any question for me. Favorites, I hope you got my email. All right, favorite. I hope you got my email, and I'm looking forward to getting a correspondence from you. So, do we have any more questions before we call it a day? Remember, just 10 slots left, and I will be taking note of the people that will be registering on the call. By tomorrow, you get access to our mentorship session. So, you get access to the founder circle and every single bit while still taking advantage of the discount. All right. Okay. So that being said, we're going to bring the session to a close. It's been an amazing 2 hours speaking to all of us on the call. I hope we got value for our time. All right. So if you've got any more questions, I will leave my email in the chat. All right. And then there are forms in the chat where you can fill. And if you want any of my colleagues to reach out to you, we will be doing that. All right. So I've just put my email there in the chat. I hope to see you in class come April or, even the May quarter. And for those of us on this call, it would be wrong, if you're paying the full price when you had an opportunity to actually take advantage of the 50% discount. So that being said, we'll bring the session to a close. All right. I hope you do have a splendid evening and, enjoy the rest of your day as well. Thank you very much for joining in. Cheers and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.